Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers! Tiki here,
And Blue Dragon 5.
and welcome to the show where we wax poetic about the movies we see on a month-to-month basis. It's time to crack open our movie
Movie
memoirs.
Memoirs!
All right, Dragon. This is the monthly movie wrap-up show. We're gonna talk some news. We're gonna talk some TV. We're gonna go over the new movies that we saw released in November, and we're gonna round things up with some catch-up. It's only gonna take about 3 hours. What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right, let's start with the news.
So, breaking news.
Did it?
We,
Did it?
we,
Did it? Did it?
I would say we were kind of getting to this in a roundabout way, but it kind of became a kind of an official grand sweeping pattern. So we got to cover at the start here. We can't just well, if this got moved and this got moved, but well, not moved.
We
This
had on
got
our list like Wonder Woman and then Godzilla versus King Kong, and then it's just like suddenly it's just like nope, it's everything. It's everything.
So yeah, big news. Warner Brothers specifically, they've essentially moved all of their presumably their 2020 movies that were pushed to 2021. All of them are going to be coming out concurrently on HBO Max as well as theatrically. But importantly, they're only going to be on HBO Max for a month.
Dragon, I think this is it's a fascinating move for a multitude of reasons. Chris Stuckman made a video about this move. I don't want to get into multitude of details surrounding that, but suffice to say, Dragon, it gives people options, it gives people choices, and I think this honestly might make the movie theater experience for those who want the movie theater experience better because it's going to cut out the middleman who might not usually go to a movie but might go to a. It's going to cut out the people on their phones essentially. Dragon is a roundabout way of what I'm trying to say here.
Right. I mean, let's face it. People love options. They do. I mean, it's the illusion of free will. It's the illusion of choice. Like you have a choice. Where do we really? I mean, for safety's sake, yes, you do. Okay. But I mean, no, seriously. I mean, look. At the end of the day, it boils down to we keep getting the same news over and over again with this whole streaming service thing. Let's be honest. Let's be frank about it. But you know what? It's the fact that it seems like this is a move that at least is going to keep film alive, which is important at the end of the day. I mean, of course, the movie theaters, it's kind of the welcome. It's the orange slices of the soul. One could argue it's the old institutions that we hold dear. It's like the orange slices at the soccer games. It's that sort of thing. It's like we need them. But
Dragon, I actually think it's interesting that in this there might be a potential for movie studios for basically theaters to make more money off of the tickets that they do make and for the theaters to take in for the studio, of course, for Warner Brothers to take in more profit from their subscriptions for HBO Max. So I think it's honestly kind of a win-win because I feel like it's going to cut out a lot of the middleman.
Yeah, I can't verify these figures, but I don't know if it was all encompassing like per movie, but at the very least, they're losing like a million per month on the movies that were supposed to come out. So I don't know if that's like 8 million. Basically, at this point, 8 months. I don't know if that's like eight
Uh-huh.
million. They've lost 8 million per all the movies that are supposed to be coming out at this point, which is a lot of money. Crazy. So I mean, yeah, this is them kind of finding their way back. And again, all these studios they've been stockpiling these 2020 movies, so they got to come out sometime.
2021 is going to be crazy, man. It's going to be a weird year regardless of what happens with everything.
Absolutely.
Of course, we got Black Widow stockpiled, a lot of stuff in the can.
Oh yeah, hopeful. The real question is how Disney's going to go about this because again, they've made the smart move with Soul. The question is, will they continue to make said smart move? That's the question.
Yeah, they made the bad move with Mulan, so we've seen both sides of the coin with Disney.
I mean, look, whether I like it or not, I'm going to have to get Black Widow when that comes out. So I just hopefully that's going to be hopefully it's going to be available like Soul. Fingers crossed, but we'll see.
What if Dragon? I like the idea of having it being out for free for a month on the platform and then going to an exclusive, pay to watch format for a while.
I mean, I guess so long as so far Disney Plus seems to be doing this as well, where they've like eventually there's a home video release. So long as we can keep doing the home video release after a while, mind you, but so long as the home release is still slated to come eventually, I think that's the
Right,
aim of the
right.
solution. It's like, yeah, yeah, make it free for the month, then the whole rental thing, and then eventually it comes out on DVD. Everyone wins.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I want to emphasize here is the win-win element of it. We all want movie theaters. God willing, I'm not optimistic about movie theaters, but we all want them to stick around. Hopefully, we'll see.
Yep.
But and of course, we all want this. We want movies to keep happening in general. That's the more important thing.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Anyway,
So going from the perspective death to some actual death.
yeah. So we have Alex Trebek. Now, Dragon, Alex Trebek is just like he's an institution in my household, man, because my grandparents, I don't know if I ever told you this, Dragon, but my grandparents, for as long as I've been alive at least, but I'm sure it probably predates me, they've watched freaking Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune every single night of their lives that it's been aired. And it's just like, so Alex Trebek is always in the background, man. And Alex Trebek, and Pat Sajak is, he's not, I believe he's having some health problems too. So, these game show icons, it's really sad to see them, kind of going down like this. And Alex Trebek, of course, he had a very public fight with cancer. And I think that's a really important thing with him is that he was definitely kind of a spokesperson for, kind of going through the struggles.
Absolutely, of course. He was honestly Alex Trebek. He was the game show host along with Bob Barker. Those two guys are the game show hosts. Let's be honest.
I think Alex Trebek is the quiz master, if you
Yeah,
will.
easily. Yes. So, of course, 37 seasons. That's nothing to sneeze at. And of course, a very, very pivotal element. It's not just like, oh, we brought in a guy to read the questions. Like, no, there's a little more to it than that. I mean, he made the experience. He kind of made you root for the guys. He got to know him. He's seen the craziness. He's seen it all. But here's the thing. I mean, the man knew his days were numbered. Again, very publicly on the show and everything. And the man worked until the end. He's very humble, ever so the humble Canadian. Again, that's like again, why the beloved Canadians get cancer? That's my question. Why? It's not right. And I remember there was like two really sweet moments with Trebek towards the end. Of course, when he revealed his diagnosis, I don't know if you probably heard about this somewhere. One of the guys playing doing like the final, thing where you write down the answers for the ending. I think.
Final Jeopardy.
Yeah, final Jeopardy, you wager all the money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, a guy kind of didn't know the answer, so he kind of threw it away with kind of really lovely sentiment, where he kind of wrote down, "We love you, Alex,"
Oh.
which was really beautiful, and this is really kind of eerie yet kind of beautiful. The last Alex Trebek pre-recorded a message for Thanksgiving, where he basically told everyone to kind of hang tight. We're going to get through this, for the situation we're all facing. So how beautiful is that? America's like the game show host is telling everyone to hang in there. To think.
I mean, I got to admit, Dragon, that's got some Walt Disney vibes to it, but it is heartwarming too.
That it is.
All right. And also, Dragon, what do you think of Ken Jennings as the new host?
Yeah, I didn't hear who they got. Ken Jennings? He's kind of lost on me at the moment. You know him from
He's
anything?
he's the ginger kid who won, like he was like the big champion back in the day.
Well, that's kind of interesting. Getting and now the name. Okay, the name does sound familiar. Now you bring up old Jeopardy. Okay. But it's kind of a nice passing of the torch we give like one of the big champs.
Him and Alex had impeccable chemistry, and that's one of the things. That's one of the things that kind of endeared him, and it's made him like one of the most iconic players. Like I vividly remember Ken Jennings in his run on Jeopardy, so I'm very happy about it. What?
Do we know if Trebek picked him? Because I knew we had some ideas of who we wanted to take over the show. Was he?
I would be shocked if Trebek didn't pick him because him and Trebek were good friends.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so let's move on to the next passing. Out of our three, we're going to talk about here. We got Elsa Raven. So some of you may not recognize the name offhand. Let me just say this one line. You'll remember it. Okay. Save the clock tower!
Yeah, yeah.
So she's the Save the Clock Tower lady from Back to the Future. So it's a brief role, but always very memorable. This lady has some of the most iconic exposition in film history. That she's the reason Marty McFly gets home, because we get back 1955. But what does Marty have in his back pocket? Oh my goodness, it's a salvation that clock tower lady gave him. It's the little flyer about the clock tower being struck by lightning on this day. Saved his bacon thing. Yeah, it's really nice. And again, we're kind of losing our kind of our film players like this, like like the lady from Jaws. It's Slap Chief. Really, we're losing these people. It's kind of sad to see them go.
Yeah, the lady from Jaws definitely came to mind.
Yeah.
All right, and then Claude brings up David Prowse, of course, the guy who portrayed Darth Vader, the guy in the suit, essentially. And Sam Elliott is the new mayor.
Yeah, I know
Oh
about
God.
this. Yeah, it's the whole
Oh dear. All right. Oh man. Oh, that's.
getting a little sidetracked during our in memoriam, Tiki. Can we refocus out of respect?
Yeah, I'm
here?
sorry. I'm sorry.
But yes, David Prowse, the suit performer for Darth Vader, the body of Vader from
But
the
he
original
embodied
trilogy.
Vader. He literally embodied Vader. If it weren't for that physical presence, Vader wouldn't be what it is. Of course, everyone cites the voice. It's the voice. And yeah, the voice was a big part of it, but David Prowse was the guy on the set. David Prowse was the guy not only filling out the costume, but giving the big dramatic gestures and just kind of like having the presence.
Absolutely, and we've now revealed he passed of the virus. It got him, unfortunately. The virus has taken Darth Vader from us, folks, and it's really sad. I remember my first introduction to David Prowse. I mean, as many things with Star Wars, was Empire of Dreams and the whole Darth Farmer thing.
Sure.
Right, that's the thing. I feel so bad because that was my kind of the Carrie Fisher lovingly just kind of like the whole Darth Farmer thing. They had a very kind of like an English farmer accent as Vader on set, which again they were all kind of worried like, oh man, I wonder if Vader's going to turn out. Which obviously that movie comes out, it's James Earl Jones, worked out perfectly. But it's just that idea of he was kind of the butt of a joke in that documentary, but years later, we get "I Am Your Father," which is a documentary you and I we talked about in great detail with our commentary, made by Marcos Cabota, lovely filmmaker, who kind of righted the ultimate wrong with David Prowse's Vader, which very famously was we were supposed to actually show David Prowse when Vader died and he was unmasked. That was supposed to be David Prowse.
Right.
But it's this bizarre turn of events. He basically guessed the ending of Empire Strikes Back, the whole "I am your father" thing. He kind of guessed it, and Lucasfilm kind of read that as you spoiled our movie. We don't like that. We're not going to give you that thing, which is really wrong and really petty. And it was a horrible thing to happen to David Prowse, because that was we saw the back of his head once in Empire. I mean, the man was living for that unmasking scene. Would have been we always want to highlight this, like the Doug Joneses of the world. That would have been his big moment. That would have been a big blow for all the super performers of the world, to give them their day in the sun. But
It's kind of like the original Dylan Baker never getting to be the Lizard in a way.
well, sure, yeah, certainly. And of course, I love that Cabot again. He righted Lucasfilm's wrong by in that movie. The whole crux of that is, we're gonna reshoot the death scene with Prowse, as the aged Dave Prowse, who would look identical to kind of the aged Vader in that scene, which would line up perfectly. And unfortunately, because of legal issues, they could never show it. But we saw his reaction to it, and I think that was the important thing we really glommed onto, Tiki, is that even though we, the audience, didn't get to see him, in that scene, we got to see David Prowse relishing in his moment, relishing in seeing him on the big screen, getting recognized. That was something beautiful. I mean, again, the man made Darth Vader imposing. He trained Superman, trained Christopher Reeve, got him in the shape for the Superman movie. And also, he taught the little English kids how to cross the street as the Green Cross Man. I mean,
I forgot about that.
the man was beautiful in many senses of the word. I mean, it's so fitting that in Mando we're getting Ahsoka. She's entering the world in live action as the man that essentially she knew behind the mask exits this world. It's poetic. It's bittersweet, but it's poetic as all get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. Next up, we have Deadpool 3. Why don't you tell us all about this, Dragon?
So yeah, Deadpool 3, Pro. Hey, we're working on Deadpool 3. That's awesome, because roughly, they still have not given this thing a name, but Disney Plus is going to have like kind of an adult section on the streaming service. They haven't given it a name. Some people
Ooh,
speculate plus
interesting.
18. They're going to say call it plus 18 or
Disney
something.
18 plus.
Yeah, 18 plus, something like that. Yeah.
Uh,
So there's been some speculation as to, again, they keep announcing they're going to do this, but they haven't given it a name, which makes me think it's not going to happen until it happens. But point being,
what if
they
they called it the Disney Vault?
that would be great. That'd be
I know it's
amazing.
never gonna happen, but
I know. That's what I'm saying. So I assume they are going to follow through on this because they promised that Deadpool will continue to be rated R, apparently. Which I mean, I'm down for that. It's just a question of if they're when they're going to make this so. Plus, they can have a place to put like Logan and all the other R-rated stuff they've accumulated.
right, right.
Makes sense. And plus, again, some people are speculating a Daredevil return could also go there, depending. Who knows?
Put Alien on Disney Plus.
Exactly, it could go there in that section. So anyway, so Deadpool 3, it's been essentially they've been pitching it. Again, they've been dealing with Disney in the interim, just trying to get it made and everything. And of course, with just plus and of course the pandemic hitting, there have been some halts in that. But Ryan Reynolds has been very ardent in getting it made. And oddly enough, we've gotten new writers on the project, which kind of concerns me. Pro, it's in the works. Con, we've lost the great writers I know and love.
Now, here's the thing for me, Dragon. I feel like every once in a while with a franchise, it's good to have new writers. It's good to have a new set of eyes working on the character. And the thing that makes me optimistic about this is that Deadpool 2, as great as Deadpool 2 was, and I will admit I had a lot of fun with it. Of course, a lot of stuff, the X-Force stuff in Deadpool 2 is just phenomenal.
It is.
But Dragon Deadpool 2, it feels very, very, very similar to the original Deadpool, almost to a fault. And so for my money, I'm interested to see a new take on the character. And I think the character is versatile enough to where you can have different takes.
I mean, sure. I mean, of course, we have the I hope I'm pronouncing this right, the Molyneux sisters.
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, the point being the sister duo who works on Bob's Burgers. They are writing the new Deadpool movie. And I mean, again, I've caught like an episode or so of Bob's. I've caught clips of Bob's Burgers, maybe an episode or two. But it's good writing. H. John Benjamin, that's always good there. I mean, again, I'm sure they're talented. It's just
Who could
again,
H. John Benjamin play, Dragon? Because we know they're going to loop him in.
God, I mean, I'd be amazing if they got him to play Bob, but I don't. Well, wait, no, we already have a Bob. Well,
Yeah, we already have a Bob.
That's the thing. We have a Bob. It's just then again, well, the point they could always make a joke about getting a new Bob.
What about if they recast Weasel?
It'd be again if we make fun of it. Sure, I mean they get away.
Yeah, they'd make fun of it too.
Absolutely. But I mean, there are other certainly there are some characters.
I'm Weasel now.
Yeah. But let me. They never cast Patch. He could be really funny for Patch. But anyway, let me just refocus here. My point is again, Deadpool was like a core team of 4 in the beginning. You had Tim Miller, you had Ryan Reynolds, and you had the Reese and Wernick as the writers. That was your
I understand that. I get that, but
and then we kind of lost a bit in the DNA of that with Tim Miller in the second one. He dropped off, and now we've lost the writers. So I mean, I'm sure because again, presumably there's gonna be like a rebooted thing going forward. Like again, you and I are pulling for Deadpool, just trying to get the movie made with Disney with the whole Fox thing
which is never gonna happen.
I mean, you say that, but I don't know. I mean, at the very least, I'm convinced Deadpool 3. Again, they're going to do some sort of reboot just to address like the changes.
Deadpool like kidnaps Bob Iger.
That'd be hilarious. I don't think they're gonna go that far with it. But to get at the bare minimum, I think we're gonna do is it's gonna be Deadpool having fun being in the MCU. That's the core of the movie. It's gonna be Deadpool Deadpool's in the MCU and he's gonna knock it every chance he gets. Like I imagine he's gonna make some endgame jokes, no question. That's pretty much what Deadpool 3's gotta be. But again, this whole reboot thing could opens up some doors, and a new writing voice could also confirm that. So we'll see. Again, hey, more Deadpool. I'm never gonna shoot it down. Ryan Reynolds is still involved. We're all good. Just, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see how it is. All right.
All right. Speaking of MCU, WandaVision is announced to be released on January 15th. Dragon, do we know if it's going to be weekly or all at once?
I don't think we're lucky enough for it to be all at once. It's going to be weekly. I mean, who are we kidding?
Dragon, I want it to be weekly. I'm enjoying the hell out of The Mandalorian being weekly. I'm on a different side of the coin as you are about this.
I mean, look, yes, it worked out great for Mando. I'm just saying it's been a long time since we've gotten some MCU. It's just going to be refreshing to get. I'm just saying it's been a long time. I'm just eager, okay? I'm not completely on the other side. I think you're right. Ultimately, it's just like, wouldn't it be?
I'm saying the fan discussion. The fan discussion is definitely going to be more memorable because of it being weekly. That's all I'm saying.
That's a fair point. I'm just saying they keep selling it as the 6-hour movie, which again, if it's like separated altogether, we can really lend credence to that whole 6-hour movie point. But again,
well, that's what a rewatch is for, Dragon.
Oh, you're right. No, I'm not. You're right on this. But the point being, though, I think ultimately we were all hoping that maybe just by some chance WandaVision would make it to the end of this year. But say, Livy.
Yeah. You know what? It'll be out soon enough.
It will. I mean, again, importantly, it's coming. It's just while I wish it was Falcon Winter Soldier, still the marketing looks astonishing on this. I can't wait for it. But speaking of
smooth transition there.
And Winter Soldier, we have news, big news. This is awesome news, honestly. We have Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh, basically, after making a banner year in 2020, she's going to be like, "Hey, I'm taking over the MCU now. Okay, bye." And you know what, Dragon? Unlike Brie Larson, I'm completely fine with Florence Pugh taking over the MCU.
Yeah, of course. 2019, I think you meant to say, because she was kind of the king of 2019.
What did I say?
You said 2020, which is
my bad. Yeah, she was the queen of the May Queen of 2020, 2019. I don't know why I keep doing that. Anyways.
But yeah, of course, she's playing essentially Natasha's sister, Elena, who basically in comics is the other Black Widow. There are a couple Black Widows. She's the other main one, the blonde-haired one. So presumably, again, we haven't seen Black Widow, unfortunately, so I can't confirm exactly how things are going to turn out. But presumably, she's going to stick around as the new Black Widow, as I think we all predicted. Mm. So that's good news, in that she's slated to appear in 2 shows of the Disney Plus shows. Hawkeye, which makes sense given how tight Black Widow and Hawkeye are. It's a great idea.
Sure.
Also, we're gonna have a female Hawkeye, so that's kind of a really cool idea as well. Kind of the next generation effect of the new Avengers kind of lineup. We're doing Young Avengers, however you want to call it. And other big, again, Falcon Winter Soldier, which gets me really excited. Again, how can you make this show any better? Okay, remember what you loved in Winter Soldiers, that pairing of Cap, Falcon, and Black Widow. Well, new Black Widow with our new Cap and Winter Soldier. Yes, it keeps getting better.
Now, I will say, I do hope that Florence Pugh continues to take on, like, her really risky projects, like Midsummer, and I would say Little Women was risky, but she was fantastic in Little Women. So I want to see her in movies like that, as well as MCU stuff.
I really liked her in Little Women, by the way. She was.
I know, you weren't a fan of that movie, but it's hard to deny that she has a spunky wit to her in Little Women.
I love that carriage scene, man. She was great in that carriage scene.
All right.
Anyway. So let's see.
Fighting with my family as well.
I know, yeah, she was really good in that one. Again, admittedly, I think there's an issue with their story in that, but she's good. All right. So lastly, in the MCU news, Black Panther 2, we've confirmed that it is filming in July. And Shuri is indeed going to be our lead. I think we all kind of saw that coming. We still haven't said one way or another she's going to become the new Black Panther. Some people aren't entirely looking forward to that. I say absolutely make a new Black Panther, because 1, happens in the comics. 2,
it makes sense. I'm not sure why you wouldn't.
I know.
Shuri is a huge fan favorite character who I don't think got nearly enough to do in the Infinity Saga.
Absolutely, because we were dying for more Shuri, but to be fair, a lot happened in those last 2 movies. A lot.
You're right.
Oh, but
all I'm saying, Dragon, is I wanted to see Tony Stark get upstaged by Shuri, and it never happened, and now it never will happen, probably.
Sad but true. But again, on the flip side, though, and again, this is I want Falcon Winter Soldier, and I want this Black Panther too, because I just love this whole legacy idea of, again, the heroes are trying to fill in some big shoes. There's a familial element with Shuri.
Of course.
which is great. And of course, Okoye, I'm sure, is going to be trying to help her along the way, and that should be a lot of fun. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of potential there. Plus, I mean, imagine if she's going up against Namor as like her big first task as a royal. Like, oh my god.
Now, the same director is going to be back, right?
Yeah, Coogler. I mean, unless something has
Good,
changed, but
good.
no, Coogler's supposed to
I
continue.
think Ryan Coogler, if anyone can take on the tragedy of Chadwick Boseman dying in a respectful way, Dragon, because they got to bring up the absence of T'Challa.
Well,
They got to bring up why T'Challa's not there.
It's funny you mention that because Claude in the comments has brought up that we've
Yeah.
confirmed they're not going to use a digital double. Now, here's the thing: when they say they're not going to use a digital double, they haven't specified that they're not going to do like the Carrie Fisher thing, which I think that's what they confirm, but that they're not going to have the suit, as in like just Black Panther the character rendered in CG, which again you can't see Boseman's face when he's in the full suit.
I mean, we'll see what happens, but what I'm saying is, I think Ryan Coogler is one of the most respectable directors working today in terms of dealing with tragedy and grief in a really kind of just very poignant kind of way. So I think it is. I don't want to. It's weird for me to say this, Dragon, but I think that Chadwick Boseman, as crushing as his death is, it's going to give this movie an element of pathos that wasn't there before.
I tell you what I'm hoping for. People speculate, and I think it's an absolutely brilliant idea. Well, not. I think it's an absolutely respectful and fitting idea. Just have T'Challa die the way Boseman died. Where,
I agree. I would think that'd be yeah. I'd be with that. I'd be down for that.
And if anyone's saying that's not, here's the thing: there is in very historically in the comics, the original Captain Marvel, before we have Carol Danvers, he died of cancer. So rarely do we have comic characters, superheroes die of cancer. And this would be a really impactful version of doing that. I feel. Plus, it'd be a good kind of awareness thing. It'd be a really again, it would be like just also it's like a way of tipping the hat to he became this character, so he went out.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be cementing the fact that Chadwick Boseman is T'Challa.
Speaking of which, his birthday passed this month, I believe, and a little update on Disney Plus, where if you go to watch Black Panther Disney Plus, they changed the Marvel logo like they did with Stan Lee after his passing, where it's like it's all Boseman and the little Marvel pages and everything.
Nice.
Okay, we're out of the news.
All right, let's get to TV.
What's on?
We have Animaniacs 2020. We did the 13-episode breakdown this time last week, Dragon, so we don't want to spend too much time on it. Generally speaking, I think the absolute highlight of Animaniacs 2020 is the voice acting. The voice acting has, arguably only gotten stronger and more on point over time. Pinky and the Brain is still absolutely fantastic. I like a lot of the Warner stuff. I think all of the songs are really on point. Some of the political humor is a little preachy, especially the female empowerment stuff with Dot, which I just don't think it's in Dot's character because as we pointed out a couple times, Dragon, Dot, she crushes on the guys just as much as Yakko and Wacko crush on the girls. You know what I mean? Like in the original show. So
Yep.
I feel like I don't know. I don't want to rehash that argument, but it does kind of leave something to be desired from her character. But overall, I think it was a strong reboot. I'm excited for season 2 to see what they do. I hope we get more than the 2 sketches, though. Like, I gotta say, this felt very repetitious towards the end.
Yeah, it does feel, in parts, it feels a little bit like the misnomer of again, Animaniacs is just the Warners, where no, it's Animaniacs is like the sketch comedy named for the whole, it's the variety show name, but they're all Animaniacs. They're animated maniacs, therefore the name. But I think also the thing to acknowledge here is, again, successful reboot overall, maybe a little PC and kind of off character in places, but again, the reason we have that is because we're without the original writers. I'm calling you out, show.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
But, no one disrespects Paul Rugg in my house. Anyway, beyond that, though, is the main thing we got to mention before we move on. Pinky and the Brain, they were the MVPs of the season. They stole the season, as they did in the original show.
Absolutely.
Again, this is too good an idea.
All right. Claude, I have not seen The Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse. I'm waiting for the whole season to come up. And then Taylor Lautner will be returning as Shark Boy. What do you think of that, Dragon?
Would be worth covering, but no. Yeah, so this is Robert Rodriguez's his Netflix superhero show. It's coming apparently on January 1st. Here, it's We Can Be Heroes, and big people are speculating that Taylor Lautner they're going to do Shark Boy and Lava Girl with their characters as parents, but apparently is not the case.
All right, so Dragon, tell me about the Comey Rule.
Okay, so the Comey Rule. This I thought this was. I thought I was gonna be sampling a show, like watch the first episode and see how I felt about it. But apparently it was a two-part TV movie, so I ended up watching the whole thing because I was halfway. So yeah, this was. I don't know if you're aware of this. This is the Jeff Daniels. Jeff Daniels is a thing on Showtime where he plays the head of the FBI, James Comey.
Okay.
So here's the thing: it was on Showtime. Again, basically, at this point in time, we were kind of post-election, and Jonathan Banks was in this, so that kind of clinched it for me. Because I've been trying to stick away from like kind of the then current political situation we've all been kind of living in. Like try to avoid it, like the plague. I watched like the Michael Moore documentary that was about it. Try to kind of keep it at arm's length. With the election being over, moving on, and everything, and the fact that, again, Jonathan Banks is in. You know what? Because they had really. Basically, of all the the previous administration related stuff, this one always jumped out to me because the portrayal of our former president was really terrifying. I was really interested. Man, I wonder how they're gonna go about.
Now, who plays the so-called dragon? Who played the orange one?
Brendan Gleeson, and he is chilling, Tiki. He's chilling.
Brendan wow. Ooh.
You know Gleeson?
Yes, I know Brendan Gleeson.
Seriously, Tiki, he's like gobsmackingly accurate and terrifying as the man in question. So anyway, plus, I mean, Animaniacs have brought up the name, so I feel we're getting to a point where we can at least say the name. Because again, as long as we're not getting in Politico of it all, as long as we're like, it's the orange one, it's the guy with the hair, it's the guy.
All right.
So Billy Ray did this. He directed and wrote this thing. This is the guy who wrote Captain Phillips and Richard Jewell. So that's good.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Nice.
So, the way to break this down, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, just to give you the premise. It's basically they break it down into two parts. Part one is the 2016 election. It's basically it's about the whole election process and basically investigating the Russian emails of it all, which basically Jeff Daniels, he plays, and the way he's framed in this movie, he is a very compelling father, kind of father and a man of duty. Where he's head of the FBI, he's really good at his job, he cares, but he's a very compelling lead, and he has daughters. And he's kind of torn between the job and kind of the family, and that's kind of what his struggle is. And basically, this investigations thing, like there's a moment in this thing, it never occurred to me that really got me, where on like around the night of the election or so, women across the globe are heartbroken. They're crying. They're so saddened by what could have been, and you kind of get that with like this man and his daughters, and he had a role in this where he had the chance to, like, again, he didn't have to investigate, but his duty compelled him to. So that's a really interesting idea for your character. He didn't want to do this, but he had to. It's his job. And right. Part two gets into the electee of it all, and that's the chilling stuff. There's this thing where the former president had dinners with James Comey when he wasn't supposed to, and like Comey never wanted. Like he had a reluctant relationship with the president, where it's like the president tried to embrace loyalty and everything. Hey, why don't you come over? We'll have dinner. And it's like he did not. We get trapped into these dinners, and it's like palpable, like intimidating. It's like, oh my god.
Okay, interesting.
Really, basically, if you're going to do, and it's like the fastest biopic we've ever gotten to. You think of it, we've never had a biopic this fast, or like a bio project this fast.
Well, we had W.
How long after that?
I believe Bush was still in office when that came out.
Okay, never mind. It's a fair point. It's relatively fresh, I guess. But anyway, point being, out of all the stuff, if you're ever going to choose one thing, I think this is the thing to choose, Tiki. All right.
Okay.
So, Inside Pixar, a little Pixar series on Disney Plus. What'd you think?
Dragon, I only got a couple episodes into it. I was kind of bored. I'm sorry. To me, it feels like One Day at Disney, except while those were very digestible at a few minutes a pop, this just was a little bit too long. I know they're still. I know they're still short. I don't know. Dragon. At the end of the day, it just kind of came down to I needed to find time to watch the movie, so I just didn't really have time to finish this.
Right. Anyway,
What do you think of it?
I'll tell you what I thought of it. So yeah, I thought this is kind of an exploration of this bonus feature they've been putting on the Pixar DVDs for a while. It's called Paths to Pixar, which are really nice. Shows you how they got from point A to point B. So this is kind of like kind of something a little out of that, little out of One Day at Disney Shore. It's I love how diverse the coverage is. I love how we have it's kind of like the most awesome ad for all the upcoming Pixar projects you can imagine. With the people behind the scenes, and we're not really spoiling anything. We're not showing like anything from Soul necessarily or any of the upcoming stuff. It's just like seeing we're getting to know the people behind the scenes and what kind of gets the ideas of pumping. Like we had Dan Scanlon, with Onward, which of course we all know that story is kind of how it's like the last segment or something. The whole we get to see some of the stuff that we've heard hyped up, kind of first person, which is kind of nice. Steve Hunter, who did the Spark short out. Steve Hunter's been like a legendary animator, one of Brad Bird's guys on Incredibles. So I got to learn a little bit about him and his struggles and all that. And again, Luca, the I believe the next Pixar film that's slated to come out. We got to meet Deanna Marziglese, basically an Italian character designer. So we got to kind of meet her, and we got a bunch of different jobs, different hats with the organization. It was quite nice. I want more. I'd like to see more of this explored, at least.
I'm not trying to diss, and I'm just saying I feel like One Day at Disney is a little bit more digestible.
Well, maybe. Also, Claudia, he's asking about Marvel 616. Sorry, Claudia, not this time, but next month for sure.
All right. So, Dragon, oh boy, you ready for something kind of crazy?
Yeah.
So this show has a terrible title.
I think I go next, Diggy.
Oh, my bad.
So I was wondering, where is he going with this?
All right, Trial 4, it's crazy!
Okay, so Trial 4, do you hear anything about this?
No idea.
All right, so Trial 4, it's Netflix's true crime docuseries. It's about Sean Ellis going up against the Boston PD.
All right.
All right, so basically, long and short of it, a corrupt cop gets murdered outside of like a grocery store or something. Outside like a Walgreens or a Walmart or something, like a corner store sort of deal. And basically Ellis, he admits to, he comes forward. He says, "Yeah, I was at the store." When they ask him, he doesn't lie or anything. He says, "Yeah, I was at the store, buying diapers for my kid at this time." But basically, there on the night in question, essentially, they turn him into the fall guy. They kind of pin the whole thing on him. And the whole thing results in, over the decades, he goes through 3 trials, and the whole structure of the thing is that he's preparing for his 4th trial, being the 4th trial in question. And over the years, like he's been some mistrials. There's been again him being convicted, where again now he's kind of getting the appealed kind of trial to fix things, essentially. And this piece, I got to tell you, examines corruption in the Boston PD in the '90s. It's again, we have a really great. He has like an ardent lawyer. Isn't it great when we have like ardent lawyers, like the guys that fight for the little guy? I mean, we can always get behind that. And this ardent lawyer in question, she's a lot like Rosie O'Donnell in This Much I Know to Be True. She's a lot like that character there. In that she's again really very kind of salt of the earth type. Like really fighting for it.
Gotcha.
Gotta like her. So it's 8 episodes. It's TK. It's a really compelling story. It's a good mystery. It does it lacks the hook and the stay power of making a murderer, though. I'll tell you that much. It's a big.
I gotta tell you, you describing it isn't really. It's not hooking me. Just the way you're telling the premise.
That's what I'm saying. It's kind of it's hard just to tell you about. It's a little guy going against the big system. It's a story with a point for sure. It has like these animated reenactments that are really cool, though. Like it's kind of in the animation style of I Lost My Body, which is really cool. It's kind of like in that sort of animation style when they reenact things. Again, it's good story. Just does not have the stay power, I'm afraid to say. Okay. Now, what's crazy, man?
A teacher. Terrible title. This is basically Blair Watson, the series, right?
Oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, that's all you need to know, right? It's
Hey!
who's B? All right. So yeah. This what I like about this show, Dragon, is that it like genuinely it's it is very much kind of like the young hot teacher, kind of seducing the high school student. But I think it does so in a really realistic kind of slow burn of a way. At least at first. I think the second half of the season gets pretty damn crazy, but the first half of the season is a nice little slow burn. And what I like about it is that it is pretty realistic with how, like the teacher in question, she's got kind of an older husband who's sort of trying to relive his glory days. He's literally getting his high school band back together. Meanwhile, the kid, Nick Robinson's character, what I like about the kid in this is that he is obviously like a very emotionally mature high school student because he's taking care of his brothers. His mom's working a lot of overtime shifts. His dad's dead, so he's on a path to get a scholarship. So you get to see like the teacher and the student, like they do have a genuinely good rapport with each other. And I'm obviously not trying to defend the decisions here, but you see how realistically the attraction could happen. And because obviously with the student, it's just like, hey, I'm banging, I'm getting, this
He's
is
hot for teacher.
exciting. What?
Well, it's the old saying, he's hot for teacher.
Yeah, exactly. But with the teacher, it's almost kind of like she's sort of almost like playing chess, like she's almost kind of trying to reposition her life. Like, hey, in a few years, this guy's not going to be underage, and I can ditch my loser husband essentially. And Dragon, I gotta tell you, it's pretty soap opery, but it plays out pretty entertaining. I think if that premise sells you, if like the whole Blair Watson the series sells you, I think you'd enjoy it. I'd give it a go.
Let me ask
It,
you one question.
yeah.
Does it get to a point where you root for these two crazy kids? Does it have that to it?
I can't say that, Dragon, just because it does have the creep factor to it. Like the creep factor is there. I mean, there is kind of some, like I said, there's a level of realism to it. That's the most I will give that. There's a level of realism to it where it's like, okay, I could see why these crazy kids would get together. I'm not saying you're rooting for it to happen, but I could see why it would happen if that
Gotcha.
makes
Okay.
sense. All right. So yeah, overall, I'd say it's a light recommend.
All right. I'm gonna raise your crazy with some bigger crazy.
Okay.
I'm gonna raise you seduced inside the Nexium cult.
All right. I'm always down for a good cult documentary.
Yeah, Tiki. See, do you remember when we talked about the vow last month?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay, so basically we have competing Nexium cult
Oh
documentaries.
me! Oh no! Oh no!
So
It's a new
there,
fire fest. It's a new fire fest.
yes, it is. So okay, so
What's
on one
this
hand,
one on?
well, again, they're as you can imagine the same subject, but no, here's the
No, no, no.
difference.
What streaming platform is
Oh,
this
okay, so
one
this
on?
is on Stars. So this one's on Stars, the other one's on HBO or HBO
Okay,
Max. The point being
gotcha.
it's on HBO, but you can watch it on HBO Max as well. Okay, so yeah, so this is the so this is the one that Kevin Smith kind of he mentioned this, and he kind of mentioned he kind of sold me on this because he mentioned like the whole sell of this one was where basically sell is when they announced it. One of the subjects, not the main subject, basically someone we kind of hyped up. She was kind of like the daughter of one of the ladies who's interviewed in the vow. She mentions her daughter that the cult got their meat hooks into her.
Oh,
And essentially, well, she never appeared. She never gave a statement in that. Essentially, because she was in the middle of this, and we learned that basically at some point in time she came across a kind of the smoking gun flash drive, which basically had all the truly bad stuff that didn't make it into the Vow season one, like all the really bad stuff that Keith Ramirez did. I mean, the really bad stuff. And that's kind of what this whole thing is. Basically, it's this is 4 episodes versus the Vow's 9 episodes, and bear in mind that that show's getting a second season, where basically it's going to be like the trial, presumably.
Got it.
I'm more excited to see the second season than the first season with the Vow. Honestly, that's the thing. But this is like a limited series. This is presumably is not getting any more, and I'd recommend this before the Vow, but I'd advise you to check out the Vow season 2 though.
Okay.
This basically it's about India Oxenberg. It's about her perspective, like the girl who again was kind of someone like deep inside his brain was like we cover the branding like, right out the gate that she was branded in the first episode, and then we just kind of go into like all the psychological torture and stuff that goes on as we go on from there. It's again it's better than I think it's better than the slow burn of the Vow. So it's really interesting stuff. Again, there's all the crazy stuff that went on in the next film called, and also if you're looking for the Allison Mack of it all, it's in this documentary, not so much the Vow. So you get all the Allison Mack stuff here.
Gotcha. Okay. Because that is
That's
definitely
the
the most
distinction.
interesting.
Basically, Allison Mack is mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's definitely a player here. Like she's like the second in command, and we reflect that better here than the other one. Which again, maybe they're saving it for the second season. I don't know, but the point being, you get all your money's worth here.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right.
Alrighty. Let's see. Queen's Gambit, Dragon. This is awesome. This is the highlight of the month for me, honestly.
Yeah, I keep hearing all sorts of about this.
Yeah, Anna Taylor-Joy, I think is the Florence Pugh of 2020. Honestly, she's had a year. She's having a banner year. Ironically, she was also in an A24 horror movie back in the day with The Witch. But yeah, Anna Taylor-Joy. Essentially, what I like about this so much, Dragon, is it feels like a biopic, and it's not. It's got such an air of legitimacy to it. It's basically about a female grand chess master of sorts with a troubled past and who's dealing with a bunch of inner demons and addiction. And Dragon, it's every bit as compelling as that sounds. Like the chess is illustrated in a really interesting visual way where she kind of like plans out moves way in ahead, like on a chessboard on her ceiling. We kind of get like a Sherlock kind of inner mind thing where she's kind of like planning out the moves and kind of strategizing and thinking not just moves ahead but games ahead, like mapping out like different scenarios and stuff. I will say the first episode is a little bit of a slow burn. The first episode is pretty much just her childhood in an orphanage. Once you get past that, it's a ride. It really is. It's filled with a lot of highs and lows. The addiction stuff is genuinely some of the best portrayals of addiction I've seen in a long time in any medium. I genuinely think this thing is probably the best thing I've seen all month. Like it's better than any of the movies I've watched. So yeah, I would give it a big recommendation.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see. So I got something I think you'd really like. Eli Roth's History of Horror, Season 2.
I could have sworn I've seen season 1 somewhere. What platform is this on?
It comes on AMC.
Oh, okay. I must have watched at least some of this with my dad at some point. It sounds so familiar.
I don't know how long it's been since the first season premiered. It was either last year or the year before. It's like the earliest it could have been. 2018, I guess, for the first season. But here's see, AMC, they've done these great little kind of limited series things.
The Robert Kirkman one too, right?
That's what I'm saying. The Robert Kirkman one's my favorite. So Robert Kirkman called The Secret History of Comics, which each episode is like a different format on how they tell the story, which is it's so great. It's kind of what they're promising with this with the Slugfest shows that was on Quibi that no one got to see because Quibi's no longer a thing. If you want to see the first episode of that Quibi thing, you go to like the panel from the Digital Comic-Con for I think it was New York or something. But yeah. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, I love these little AMC series, which basically their episodes were kind of halved in those first seasons, which implies they were all supposed to get a second season. The only second season we've gotten so far is Eli Roth, so it gives me hope for the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so this pretty much Eli Roth, he's kind of has the lay of the land here. He's kind of interviewing, he was interviewing a bunch of people who've been in the horror movies and the slasher movies from all over. He's kind of talking to the filmmakers, the stars, and so on and so forth. And Eli Ross doing what he does best. The man knows his horror. You got to respect that. The man's a horror historian of the highest order. And he's very passionate discussion and analysis of the subgenres of horror. Each episode's kind of a different subgenre. I personally this season, this go around, I wasn't crazy about the body horror episode, but then again, who would be? Let's see, like they cover stuff like there's an episode about witches, which obviously around the time of the Witches movie that came out last month.
Right, right.
There's a segment on monsters. There's a point that was made that I never picked up on. It's been a while since I watched Inglorious. Well, you know the rest of it. In Inglorious, because he's in that movie as Bear Drew. The King Kong conversation. It didn't dawn on me. Are you Christmas wrapping right now?
What?
Are you Christmas wrapping right now? Are you wrapping some gifts?
No.
I'm hearing a lot of crinkly paper. That's why I'm asking. Just.
It's fine. It's.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, there's this point in Inglorious where they're kind of talking. They kind of make a racial allegory for King Kong being slavery, and I never put it together until they brought that up. And I was like, "Oh my god, that's brilliant!" That's what I'm saying. They're really great nuggets of kind of like things that are in the horror movies you never really thought of before. Which is it's a real blast watching it. It's good stuff. I mean, this is the closest I'm ever going to get into watching the horror movies. It's these documentaries and these analyses of horror. I'm never going to horror straight through. There's like an episode where he picks like Eli Ross 9 movies that don't quite fit the subgenres. Like Midsummer gets mentioned since you brought up earlier.
Oh man, Midsummer's a fascinating movie.
Like he talks about Midsummer, he talks about Us, he talks about American Psycho, and Dressed to Kill. You ever see Dressed to Kill? You ever hear about that one? The Brian De Palma movie.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's really screwed up, man. But yeah, so again, I think you of all people would die for this, man. You'd love it.
Right. Okay, cool.
Lastly, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the reunion.
Yeah, you said this was really compelling.
Yeah, amazingly compelling. I swear to you. This is special on HBO Max. This is basically they've been really touting up a lot of hype around the big reunion things of all the things they've acquired the rights to. Big ones being Fresh Prince, which turned 30. And
what about Friends, Dragon? What about Friends?
That's what I'm saying. This is like the testing ground for what the Friends reunion might
Dragon,
be.
Friends, I am all there for. I didn't really grow up with Fresh Prince, but I am all there for a Friends reunion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So there's even more attention on this because they're wondering, I wonder how Friends is going to look with their reunion. Let's see how Fresh Prince did it.
Got it.
I tell you, man, Friends is in really good hands because this is done during the pandemic, and this turned out phenomenally. My God, this turned out perfectly. So it's way better than I ever could have imagined because, it's not just the clip show. You've seen reunions 100 times. Like, oh, we get them around, we show them some clips, yada, yada, yada. Done this before. Not like that at all. It's not just a puff piece of hey, what did you think of the show? Or no, they're Tiki. I know you're not uberly familiar with it or you didn't watch it all that much, but just Fresh Prince. It ended on a really memorable note where they leave the set abandoned. It's kind of like a Cheers thing, almost where like that they're moving from the house, therefore the house is empty, and the whole thing starts with Will Smith. He was like the one who turned off the lights, and the whole thing starts with him coming back and turning the lights on in the exact same set. It's just like the perfect note to start on. It's a joyous reunion. There's a beautiful section about James Avery. I mean, it's all inside out too, and it's beautiful. There's a lot. I don't want to give away all the stuff, but the big draw, the reason people are going to watch this thing, if you hear about it, you're hearing about it for this reason: the Janet Hubert of it all. So Janet Hubert was she was the original Aunt Vivian, only for 3 seasons. She got pregnant, and she left. We recast her. It's a very big thing. So she hasn't spoken to Will Smith in 27 years out of the 30, which is from when she started. So they have they reunite and they kind of hash things out. And my God, it's like this is the kind of thing that makes you, man, Will Smith. Again, I know it's like a legitimate human moment here. Just, man, my God, dramatic Will Smith is awesome. My God, dramatic Will Smith is amazing. So this bodes very well for HBO Max's future reunions. I recommend this very highly. I think it was one of the highlights for sure. This is a very surprising highlight, but it was a big highlight, man. It was great.
All right, cool. Okay, next up, we're going to transition to November 2020 movies. We're only an hour in. Dragon, it's all good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so the Christmas Chronicles 2. We just did a podcast about this. Well, actually, that's not up on the channel yet,
Yeah,
is it?
not yet.
Okay, well, we just recorded a podcast about this, so you'll be able to hear our thoughts soon. So, Dragon, what's our summarized view of the Christmas Chronicle 2 without giving away any of our podcast thoughts?
It's it's a fun continuation for sure.
Yeah, I thought it had a lot of cool kind of ideas to it, shifting the focus from from just the suburbs to the North Pole itself was a fun concept that I thought they got a lot of mileage out of. Maybe not as tight of a screenplay as the first movie, but I think that the main stars are easily the draw.
I mean, Kurt Russell, Goldie Hawn, they steal the show, no question. They're
Absolutely, they're the reason to watch the movie, and I don't really care how predictable the plot is. They're just they just have such a screen presence to them.
I mean, that's the thing. The world building is great. It's again, I would argue not the classic the first movie was. Like, I don't think people are going to be necessarily seeking when next year comes around for the Christmas, looking for Christmas movies, unless they want to do like let's do like a thematic binge of everything. They're just looking for like what's the go to Christmas movie on Netflix. They're going to go to Klaus, but outside of Klaus, they're going to go the first Christmas Chronicles. I feel, but again, if you're in a mood and you want to get more Kurt Russell in your life, this is the one to go to. This is quite nice.
It's your lucky day, old cat.
You cat. Yeah.
All right. So the Orange Years, Dragon. I like this one, but I didn't love it. I thought it was a little vanilla.
Not even orange?
Okay, it's a vanilla sherbet, Dragon. It's an orange vanilla swirl.
That's more like it.
So
There
it's
you go.
got some flavor to it, Dragon, but I don't mean to. It's in the shadow of the Red and Stimpy one, even though that's not really fair. There's just not a big hook for me like there was with the Red and Stimpy one. This one is very much just kind of like, we did this thing and it was cool and I'm proud to have worked on it. And I mean there are some memorable bits like like I love the story that Mark Summers gives of the guy who wanted the piece of the who wanted the piece of the scenery, the TV, I think, and Mark Summers is just like, "Oh yeah, take it. Well, what else do you want?" Like, so the interviews themselves are great, Dragon. I love seeing people like Mark Summers and everyone else. That's definitely the highlight. Unfortunately, Dragon, I think the issue here is that we're just fucking spoiled when it comes to documentaries
We are.
like this. And so just kind of like talking heads reminiscing about the past doesn't I don't want to say it doesn't cut it because I had a good time with this. But of course, Dragon, you and I have been hyped about this thing for at least the past 2 years,
Yeah,
right?
this thing was announced in 2018, so yeah.
So we've been hyped, and I gotta say, Dragon, it was fun. It was a good time watching it. It didn't live up to the hype for me.
I mean, look,
It wasn't really more than the sum of its parts.
again, this thing's been honestly it kind of suffered from the extended release date. That's ultimately, I think ultimately maybe that's what's kind of caused some of the
It
blood.
would have
I
come
think,
out before the Ren and Stimpy documentary.
and again, we're
I know
spoiled.
that's unfair. I
It
know
is
that's
unfair.
unfair, but
No, here's the thing. Like, I'm looking at it a little more half full here. Is that again?
uh-huh.
You're not wrong. Yeah, had it been released before Ren and Snippy, would have been a great lead-in for
I'm
that.
just
Let's be
saying that ending to the Ren and Stimpy documentary, man.
I know. But
All
that's what I'm
right.
saying. I've always wanted. We've talked about this like ages ago when we started things. Like I've always wanted a Nick documentary, and
Sure,
again,
sure.
admittedly though, I've always wanted more so Nick Toon documentary. And this thing's a little light on the Nick animation side of things than I would have hoped for. But again, you
I
cover.
bet, yeah, my heart was kind of sinking a little bit when I realized how much runtime was going into the pinwheel days, which I
Yeah,
frankly just don't really care about.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, overall, there's taking what we do have. Like, I think it's a great history lesson on how Nickelodeon came into being and how it changed the game. I mean, straightforward, yes, but again, still appreciated. Again, though, I wanted because with the animation segment, we covered essentially what we covered really briefly in Ren and Stimpy. In the Ren and Stimpy story, we had the big three. We had Rugrats, Ren and
Uh-huh.
Stimpy, Those were the three shows, and we kind of spent a little more time on how these three came into being. Sure, in this, and we touch on Rocco very, very briefly. But
Where's Bartlett, Dragon?
wait, where's? Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. So here's the thing: I wanted Hey Arnold, Cat Dog, and maybe Kablam if I were to be greedy.
Uh-huh.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, to be fair,
Dragon,
let's
at
be
the
honest.
very least, I think they should have had Hey Arnold. At the very, very least.
And again, I don't want anyone saying, "Well, they use clips of him." That's not the same. No, but here's the thing of it, Tiki. Let's be honest. I mean, this is pipe dream. This is like the next dream to put on the
Oh
bucket
God.
list. Like Hey Arnold documentary.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see it.
That's what I'm saying. I was always, as a
Just
kid,
like breaking down all the characters and psychology.
that's what I'm saying. Because look, as much as I love Hey Arnold, as much as I wanted to see it represented here as well, just even a little bit, is that no one ever talks about Cat Dog. They love we always see the imagery of Cat Dog. It's always the theme song of Cat Dog. But no one ever talks. Let's talk about Peter Hanna and how he came up with that idea and where they went with that. No one ever talks about Peter Hanna.
Dragon transitioning here. This documentary, I feel like what it lacks is what something that the next documentary that we're going to talk about had kind of in spades, which was a really, really solid and compelling format.
Most assuredly. So again, this one fun for sure. It's a nice little history lesson, like the whole the selection of the orange color is one of my favorite parts, like how that came into being. But yeah, it's fun, but again, no happy joy. But the movie you're referring to, though, we should talk about that. Let's talk about movie trailers. A love story.
All right, so this is the John Campea documentary, and oh man, Dragon, I feel like Happy Joy is like the Frost Nixon documentary of the year, and this is just like the easily digestible kind of comfort food documentary of the year. I am going to rewatch the hell out of this thing just because I feel like it does such a good job encapsulating its subject matter, and it's just like I said, Dragon. My DVD quote for this thing, my splash quote is, "It's compulsively watchable." And what makes it compulsively watchable, Dragon, is the chapter format, and that's something that the Orange years would have really benefited from.
Yeah, but I mean, you're right. But to be fair, the way Campia approaches this thing is great in that 12 chapter breakdown. Though, but again, he's analyzing one topic versus several topics. It's one topic through basically approaching from every angle you possibly could.
Yeah,
versus like different stuff to cover Nickelodeon.
So I guess what I'm saying there is, if they were to do a Hey Arnold documentary, this is kind of the approach I would want to see them take with it.
Not a bad idea.
Not just kind of like, we're going to have a bunch of talking heads remembering the good old days. More like kind of like Chapter 5, The Psychology of Helga. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to be honest though, Tiki, no, I hear you on that. That would be the next level way of approaching. That'd be the better way. But I got to tell you guys, because I'm so desperate for a Hey Arnold documentary, just like put Bartlett in front of a camera and just like I'll do a Jim and Andy style, man. I'll take it. Just,
okay, well, you know what? At that point, just look up a Bartlett interview, Dragon.
No, but I'm saying like an in-depth conversation where he talks about the whole thing, man. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
Sitting down and we break it up with clips and everything. But I'm saying I feel like we deep dive with the man.
I hear you.
I'll take it. I mean, obviously not just him sitting in front for the whole time, and him sitting in front cut with really good footage. Anyway, but yeah, you're right though. It would be a nice breakdown. But that's the thing. This thing has that in spades. It's basically we've taken the universal experience of movie culture that we're definitely getting a little more wistful for these days. Let's be honest. But yeah, he it's a really refreshing documentary subject because trailers are they're everywhere. They're built into the culture of movies, and we never talk about them. And Campia said, "You know what? Let's talk about them."
And I think I'm just super proud of Campia for his work here. I just think he's made something that it feels very much like in the same line as something like The People versus George Lucas. Just something that I'm going to keep coming back to, not just because I'm a fan of Campia. And one of the things I really respect about this documentary is that Campia goes out of his way to not make it about him at all. Like, he has his fingerprints all over it, but he's not one of the talking heads, even though he could easily be. And I respect that, Dragon. I feel like that was a choice on his end that I really respect.
Certainly.
Right. Okay, so tell me about Belushi.
I'll tell you about Belushi. There were two brothers. They both come from Albania, and they no, okay, no, seriously, the documentary. So this is a Showtime documentary on John Belushi. As you can probably guess from the title. Yeah, there was some. I didn't know
Oh,
this was going
about Jim Belushi.
to be really impressive, though, wouldn't it?
It's just like that documentary we were pitching with Hey Arnold, except Jim Belushi sitting around talking about accordion Jim.
Yeah, well, seriously, Jim Belushi's an awesome guy, though. I like Jim Belushi.
I like Jim Belushi too. I think Jim Belushi gets too much shit,
Yeah,
honestly.
and also
Anyways,
Hey Arnold, just to keep it relevant. Anyway,
right. Right.
Anyway, that's the thing. So seriously though, I didn't know this was going to be a full-on documentary. I thought it was going to be like a docu-series, but no, it's just a full-on documentary, which I was really delayed by. Okay, we're going for it. So this uses some. We use some archival interviews up front, and we interviewed people today, but we use some archival interviews very effectively. Basically, we hear like testimonies from people who knew John Belushi. The most effective one, the way we open the piece is really impressive. We use Harold Ramis. Now, like, there's some Carrie Fisher in there, some Harold Ramis, the people no longer around anymore who knew him very intimately. And with Ramis, he basically frames the whole purpose of this documentary perfectly, where he says, basically, our big sell is that this documentary puts us in the shoes of Belushi's friends, where, as Harold Ramis says, they saw the wheels were coming off of Belushi. They knew the writing was on the wall. They knew this guy's destiny. They were sad to see it, but they knew he was not going to be long for this world. And what's so brilliant about this documentary is that we, the audience, we know what happened to John Belushi. We know.
Yeah.
But it's giving us a taste of what it was like to be his friend and knowing it. I really like that. And, we have some really cool flourishes. Like, again, we use these animated segments to basically whenever his interviews, his audio interviews are used, we animate him saying the interviews in a really cool way. It looks really nice.
All right. That's
They
interesting.
kind of downplayed the Robin Williams of it all, though. I'll admit that was kind of a strange choice. They downplayed, Robin Williams being there on the last night that he saw, Belushi alive. But again, I guess they didn't want to take focus off because Robin Williams might have stole some focus there if we bring him into the story, I assume. Dan Aykroyd, big player. It's very well made, and I'm surprised though they didn't use. I'm surprised they didn't use the really haunting Belushi sketch though, where he's like dancing on the graves of the other SNL players. The ironic sketch where he outlived all the SNL players. Do you ever see that sketch? You ever see that?
Yes.
I'm saying it's always the most memorable thing. Whenever I think of John Belushi, I'm always thinking about in the tragedy. But I'm always thinking of that really effective bit. And they didn't use it here, to my knowledge. It went by really fast. So I mean, it's good. You want to know more about Belushi, like learn about the Albanian roots and stuff like that. This is the place to go. It's good.
All right. Okay, so Dragon, I watched a movie that just premiered on Amazon Prime called Up the Five. Super obscure, I know. It's very, very indie. But the reason I watched it, Dragon, is because the director, Gabriel Adams, believe it or not, Dragon, I was kind of, I don't want to say I was friends with him, but I was very much friendly with him. Like, I wasn't in his inner circle or anything, but he was in my filmmaking class, and he was one of the prodigies of my filmmaking class back in the day in high school. And Dragon, I will say this, out of anyone who I was involved with in filmmaking, Gabriel Adams makes complete sense that he would be the one to direct a movie and get it on Prime and everything, and I'm super happy for him. So Dragon, this movie, the best way I can describe it is it's Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back if it were played as like a dark neo-noir indie comedy. So it's got kind of the dynamic duo, it's got the road trip, it's got the femme fatales, it's got all that, Dragon, and it's a lot of fun. So essentially what happens is the lead character is trying to get home to get to a funeral for his father, but his Cadillac gets stolen. His father's Cadillac that he's driving back home is stolen by a group of female femme fatale robbers, and he has to hitchhike across the 5 freeway, up the 5, with this very eccentric, larger-than-life character named Percy. Now, Percy Dragon, he's a character that kind of like starts out as just like almost kind of like a Zach Galifianakis, like Alan from The Hangover type character. But as the movie goes on, there's a lot of layers to him. There's like a really interesting like dynamic that kind of starts to evolve with him and the main character. And the two of them are getting chased around by the femme fatales, and it's just a lot of fun. Dragon. It's pretty dark. It's got an interesting shot composition to it. I really like the color contrast, and I can tell that that Gabe Adams. I'm sorry, Dragon. It's just cool saying that name in the context of like a legitimate director. Like I know that guy. It's just cool that Gabe Adams. He came from humble beginnings, and he's really kind of set out to not only make his first feature film that's available on a streaming platform, so it's a really major release for him. But I think it legitimately does show his style. And of course, having seen some of his very early student films, I'm somewhat familiar with his style from back in the day. Dragon, he also like one of the things I remember him doing as like a short documentary that was like, oh, this kid's going places, is he did a documentary about a homeless chess player in my hometown, and it was super compelling, man. It was super compelling. So folks, I would recommend Up the Five if you're looking for just an interesting kind of neo-noir indie comedy. And also just if you want to support independent filmmakers like Gabriel Adams. All right.
All right. So, okay, I got a movie. It's on HBO Max. It is Super Intelligence.
Yeah, tell me about this one, Dragon. It sounds familiar. I'm not quite sure what it is.
All right, so this is a comedy starring Melissa McCarthy.
Okay.
Her husband directed this, Ben Falcone, who they kind of appear in their movies together traditionally. Like he was even I remember there was a fun cameo he had in Happy Time Murders. He was like one of the detectives. Anyway, point being, kind of Ben. I don't know if he's ever directed anything else with her. I don't know if this is like a debut for him or not because I'm not too familiar with him. But point being, Falcone directed this movie. It's a fun little film. It's fun. I'd recommend it if as like kind of like a comfort sort of watch. I guess it's fun. Not really the deepest thing in the world. But here's the thing. So the premise is a super intelligence, like an AI, but kind of like all encompassing. Basically, it's like an Uber AI. It's like a server farm comes to life sort of deal. So superintelligence follows an average Joe, which is Melissa McCarthy. He's an average human for 3 days, and he's going to decide if he A, wants to save the world because of this woman, B, wants to basically wants to save the world, save humanity.
So it's
B,
like God, the Devil, and Bob?
I guess. Well, here's the thing. So it's either save the world, enslave it, or destroy it. Those are the three options that he's going to determine in 3 days.
It is like God, the Devil, and Bob, Dragon.
There you go.
all right.
So here's where things get fun. Okay, so the AI, the super intelligence at the SI is voiced by James Corden because, and here's where I like the movie.
Oh no!
Here's where the movie earns a lot of points. Okay, the best thing about this movie, and Ben, I forget if Falcone also wrote this or not, but the writing is really smart in places, really clever in places because the voice is James Corden because she really likes James Corden, and basically he was originally started as like kind of a stock, as kind of like computer HAL 9000 voice, and then basically he adjusted the voice to calm her. So like, well, you like James Corden, therefore I sound like James Corden.
Okay, that's funny. That's fucking funny.
So again, like there's like logic like that all throughout the movie, which is a lot of fun. And basically, the way the super intelligence works is the best part about the movie. How like anywhere they have like an Alexa or anything, he's in the room, which is also kind of intimidating, but also really funny. James Corden is everywhere essentially, and he's a lot of fun.
There was a Simpsons sketch, a Treehouse of Horror sketch that kind of sounds like this, where Pierce Brosnan was a smart house. It was actually kind of awesome, but anyways.
But and also it's got a great cast. Like Bobby Cannavale is in this.
Bobby.
Verbal confirmation.
Verbal confirmation.
I love when Bobby Cannavale shows up and things. He's always good because either as that guy, as he's Paxton in the Ant-Man movies, and of course Nurse Jackie. He's a really good role in Nurse Jackie, and he's been he's been a bunch of stuff. The Irishman anyway. So also Brian Tyree Henry, Miles Morales' dad from Spider-Verse.
Yes.
I love it when he pops up with things because he's so good. He popped up in Joker for a brief spell. And that's what I'm saying. Whenever he shows up, it's good. He's the friend of the Melissa McCarthy character who works at Microsoft, which I don't think Ben Falcone gets how. Maybe I don't get it. Maybe he doesn't get. I don't get how Microsoft thing. Microsoft is treated kind of like the Department of Defense, which I don't think is right. I mean, Tiki, if you ever watch it, you be the judge. I'm just saying because it sounds like, man, these guys are Microsoft. I don't know if they're really going to care about all the tech needs of the world the way they are right now. I don't know
Right.
about that, but anyway, the NSA agents. Falcone plays one of the NSA agents, along with one of the guys from Veep, who's really funny. Sam Richardson. I think their banter is kind of the best part of the movie. Their improv is really on point. I think they're the funniest part of the movie. The problem. Here's the problem. It's good, but I think McCarthy in a lot of her movies, and this one included, not as badly as the other movies. She needs a better editor, man, because she goes on too long with the improv. It's like we just need to clip it at a certain point.
Yeah,
Just
that's a consistent thing with her for sure.
that's the thing. It just feels like, guys, I get that she's funny, but what's going to be better if we allow her to be funny and not just, just kind of chew the scenery. Let's clip it off at the right point. Sometimes less is more. But I mean, she plays a nice, kind-hearted character. That's where the charm of the piece is. Again, this thing drops in her lap, and we kind of. I feel that we kind of write off the stakes by the end of it. If you watch, you'll know what I mean. It's just we kind of write off like there are some implications here. We're just kind of like, yeah, it's the end of the movie. Forget about it. It's fine. It's fine. So it's kind of the comedy it's kind of the comedic version of Upgrade, or again, now as you're telling me, the what's the movie called?
Her.
The one with the three titles.
Well,
Well, the three names. The three names. The God, the
Oh,
devil.
God, the Devil and Bob.
God, the
that's
devil and
that's
Bob.
an animated TV show.
Right. Apparently, it's a little bit more like that, but I was thinking like a little bit like Upgrade, the whole STEM relationship. But I mean, yeah. But the point being, it's funny. Not like a big highlight of
It's
the
God,
year,
the
but
Devil and Bob in the sense that like it's an average Joe who, essentially is inadvertently, has the fate is on their shoulders. The fate of the world is on their shoulders. That's God, the Devil and Bob.
yeah. Best
All
thing
right.
is just
Anyways.
fun.
All right. Okay, so Hillbilly Elegy. Oh man. Oh, this thing's a hot mess. Oh God, Dragon. Why, Ron Howard? What are you doing? What are you
Well, Ron
doing?
Howard did this.
He did it. Yeah. That's
Oh,
that's why. Why do you think I watched it, Dragon?
I don't know. I thought it was for the Glenn Close of it all, the Amy Adams. I don't
Glenn
know.
Close and Amy Adams are great, but the plot of this movie, it's just, oh, it's so slow. Basically, the movie is based on an autobiography that's essentially kind of like a bad version of the Glass Castle. Do you remember the Glass Castle, Dragon?
Not well.
Sam Rockwell movie from last year.
No, I didn't see that. No.
Okay. That was based on a memoir where the lead character is like looking back very fondly on her father, who was kind of like a nomad sort of hillbilly character. Um, this is based on a memoir where the main character is looking back on his family, and not only is he just like the most milk toast, like, oh, I'm in the military and now I came out and I have content for my family now because I was structured, and now I'm disciplined and my family's unstructured, and Drake, he's just a golden boy douchebag and I don't like him. And the movie, like, I think the best part of the movie is Glenn Close as the grandma character, because Amy Adams just kind of flailing around the whole movie, like overacting. And I think this is just Amy Adams is just desperate for an Oscar at this point, Dragon. But Glenn
Similar
Close
to
is compelling.
DiCaprio
Glenn Close
phase.
is like, she is, honestly. But Glenn Close is the most compelling thing about the movie because she plays the grandmother, and she's, trying desperately to kind of like not repeat the mistakes that she made on raising Amy Adams with her grandson. Um, Overall, like I said, I do think it's the grandson character that kind of tanks the movie just because he's such a boring, kind of average Joe character. Those movies where it's like you have like a really colorful cast of characters, and then like you need like the POV character who just kind of comes in and tanks the whole thing just because he's a wet blanket. It's that. It's every one of those types of movies.
Right.
And so, I mean, there's tinges of good performances in here, but really that's about it. I mean, it's the pace of the movie is just a snail's crawl. It's super. It's just super pretentious in a really kind of like preachy, hard on sleeve kind of way. I don't. I just don't like it. Definitely a contender for my least favorite of the month.
Yeah, I kind of avoid cults and hillbillies. It's kind of my
Well, this isn't a cult, but it definitely is a hillbilly
I'm
thing.
just saying, next film is like the exception though with the cult thing so far. And that's more like again, it's about how crazy the cult is. That's
Sure, sure.
again the hillbillies. I try to avoid hillbillies.
All right.
I don't I don't I'm going to alienate some people here. I don't traditionally care for hillbillies. It's going to take something really. Sorry, I just don't.
All right. So yeah.
All right. So lastly, here's something. It's on HBO Max as well. It's a documentary. Really good. It's the mystery of D.B. Cooper. So you're familiar with D.B. Cooper a little bit, right?
Name sounds familiar. Yeah.
Okay, so D.B. Cooper, the D.B. Cooper affair is one of the most famous unsolved crimes ever.
Uh huh.
It's basically, and also here's the appropriate thing. The event itself was timed like it was the day before Thanksgiving. And I'm pretty sure that's when this came out, so it's really fitting. So, per the event, in 1971, basically what happened is a man hijacks a plane. Kind of collects a ransom. Basically, he brings a bomb onto a plane, and basically, he gets he gets exchanged for most of the hostages. He gets the money, and basically he has an escape plan. He takes a parachute and he ejects himself from the plane. No one ever saw him again. So that's the crime. Got away with the money. So it's very historic. And they despite everyone's efforts, they never truly found him. And there's always in speculation: did he survive getting out of the plane? Like, did he get away with it? Like, because here's the thing: they found the money years, like in the '80s or something. They found the money, at least some of the money. No one
Uh-huh.
ever knew what happened to him. And here's what this documentary does so well, so impressively: is that this documentary, it's all about people and their stories. Like people have been told in their private lives, and they've come forward for this, that they knew DB Cooper. They found the guy. They knew the guy. And this is kind of like, imagine like from Killing Joke, the whole like Joker it's the whole multiple choice background sort of thing. All these people are convinced that they knew the
Ooh.
actual DB Cooper. So it's up to you, the audience member, if you decide. These people are absolutely certain that they know DB Cooper, and it's up to you to decide, what happened, or if which case you believe in.
Right. That's definitely interesting. That's a good sell right there.
Yeah, I think they're all very different stories. Some of them are, honestly, I think they're all pretty convincing. Person, I mean, some of them are crazy, but they're still convincing because again, there's like each of them have kind of an irrefutable piece of evidence to an extent. But again,
Uh huh.
it's up to you to make your decision there. And again, as I mentioned, the only thing I really remember, I'm so glad they cover it too, is again we find like the money on the beach and we kind of track the origins. Like, how does the money end up on the beach? And we kind of look into a theory with that. It's a great mystery with a great approach that again doesn't leave you feeling gypped at the end, because again I think would be really newsworthy. Oh my God, we actually confirmed who DB Cooper was. You think that would be all over the place. So we're not going to quite go there with it, but again, these are the answers that are available, and it's up to you to make your decision. Otherwise, again, it's like the unsolved crime for the ages. So
Interesting. All right.
good stuff.
Cool. Cool. Okay. Next up, we have Catch Up. Let's do it. Okay. So just to be clear, Dragon, you have two right up front, right?
That I do. So try to go back and forth as much of this as possible, folks. To do that, I'm going to start with one of mine. Then we're going to go to one that Tiki has seen that I saw for the first time. So I'm going to
Okay.
start with one that just I watched. You've never seen this either. Margin Call. So Margin Call, this one got some Oscar buzz, at least for writing a while back. It was the directorial debut of the director of Triple Frontier. Watching my Christmas stuff as I tend to do, I was around a little November, a little bit December. I was in a Kevin Spacey mood, after Fred Claus. So I watched. I was kind of
No
searching
comment.
for. Yeah. Well, I was searching for some Kevin Spacey. Say what you will, folks. The man was a great actor.
The phrase "in a
Okay.
Kevin Spacey mood" has different connotations to it
Uh,
nowadays.
Point
Dragon, if
being,
it weren't for those creepy Frank Underwood
I
videos.
know, I know. It's not great. What I'm saying is the man's a great actor. Okay,
All right, all right.
person's debatable, actor good. Anyway, the haunting call is about an investment banking company, in a financial crisis over the span of 24 hours, like a 24-hour cycle the movie takes place under.
Uh-huh.
Uh, it's got an excellent cast. Again, Spacey, then uh, Zachary Quinto, Paul Bettany, Jeremy Irons, Stanley Tucci. The Tucci was the other reason I watched it too, because oh my god, Tucci's in it. I'm sold. I'm in. That's it. So basically, Tucci gets the whole ball rolling. Where essentially Tucci he gets let go, and the whole thing's like we're downsizing. People are being laid off. Basically a whole bunch of yuppies worried about their job. A bunch of Wall Street yuppies worried about their jobs and everything because it's being downsized. And Tucci is one of the unlucky guys who's kind of the leader of the department, the big boss, who gets let go. But he has a pivotal role in that he gives Quinto this MacGuffin flash drive, this MacGuffin USB. And Quinto, he's the brains of the outfit. He's like the wonderkind. He kind of cracks this algorithm, which basically reveals to everyone that the company is going to go bankrupt eventually, which panics everyone in this 24-hour cycle. They're all trying to to evaluate their options and do damage control within 24 hours to the big boss, which is Jeremy Irons. So that's basically a premise. It smartly, it doesn't just become like business drivel and business jargon. Look, there may be a little bit of it, but it's mainly about these guys who just want to keep. It's basically a bunch of Howard Hamlins to a degree. Tiki, they want to keep their little world spinning. They want to keep the lights on. They're worried about their promotions and everything. So, it's kind of yuppies with the axe about to fall. The premise. It's kind of a great film about like the rich getting richer sort of idea. Basically, I think it's worth the accolades it got because this movie has like a lot of good buzz going about, like critic reviews and everything. It's like I think I get where the reviews are coming through. It's pretty solid.
Okay.
Right. So next, mystery movie. Ooh. Because here's a movie that you've seen that I just freshly saw. Things just aligned really well here because as we're covering a Road to Perdition, I covered 1917.
Oh, okay. All right. I'd be very curious to hear your thoughts on Revolutionary Road, the other Sam Mendes movie. But yeah, 1917. It didn't even occur to me that you hadn't seen this yet. What do you think?
Yes, I mean finally it was on Showtime just by sheer coincidence, and after we covered Road to Perdition, so it was like, hey, I mean, there's all the dominoes are lining up. But yeah, 1917. I thought this was impressive. It was quite impressive. I liked the whole wonder appeal of the two soldiers delivering
This or
basically the.
Birdman in terms of the one shot, what was more impressive?
Well, I mean at Birdman. Let's be honest with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I
All right,
mean,
I'm sorry. I just want to gloat a little bit.
I mean, let me be clear though. I mean,
Everyone forgot that Birdman did it first.
well, yeah, I mean, Birdman did do it first, and again, the more impressive thing is that Birdman, it's going on for how many days does Birdman go over? It's like 2 or 3 days.
Like at least 3 days.
There's like three performances, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, point being, it's I mean, Birdman, it covers a little bit more ground and more. Here's the difference, okay? 1917 is like one action. Essentially, we're in the thick of the action. Therefore, the wonder is we've seen wonders done with action all the time nowadays, which are really impressive, which are great. But Birdman did it in a casual setting, which is a little bit more impressive. Like, we made the casual thing kind of active and everything. That's kind of the difference. That's where Birdman kind of has the advantage. But
sure.
Anyway, get back to this. So, to be fair, Mendes, I think he did a great job with the wonder of it all, though, where he basically with these
the more impressive thing than the wonder was the set design.
Well, that's what I like to get to is that I love how Mendes captured the horror of World War I within the set design, within like very hauntingly. I think the thing always kind of gobsmacked me. Oh my God, Mendes is a mad genius with how horrifying he's making this. Where they're in the trenches and we see like bodies in like buried into the sand and the mud and everything. Oh my God, it's like so accurate and authentic and terrifying.
I mean, yes, but I will say that I think this doesn't hold a candle to Dunkirk in terms of making World War One a horror movie.
Oh, Tiki, Dunkirk's World War II.
Oh, Dunkirk's. Oh, I'm sorry.
You're
My
thinking
bad.
of what was the well, Wonder Woman's the other World War One example I can think of right now. That's not a
No, I'm
movie.
sorry. I'm just mixing up my history. I'm just being dumb, is what I'm doing. I'm not thinking of anything. I'm
That's the
sorry.
English side. That's where you're getting it confused. It's two English
That's
sides.
where I'm getting it confused. Yeah, it's the English side of things. Yes, yes.
Right.
But I will say that Dunkirk, just in general, is kind of like more of a horrors of war kind of scenario. But I mean, it's Stuff Dragon. I just think the character work is really light and flimsy, and you can't tell me that you can't do good character work with a single shot movie, because Birdman has excellent character work. Um, and it just kind of feels like a video game to me.
I mean, well, to be fair, we kind of saw this in Road to Perdition. Mendes kind of wrote the book and doing the POV video game thing in a sense in film, so I mean, it kind of makes sense.
Well, Road to Perdition is not the same thing, and you know it.
I'm just saying I'm just saying he kind of cut his teeth on doing that sort of stuff, and now we're doing it full in Flagrata here. So I mean,
Uh,
he's kind of built up to it. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I kind of hear your point there. Here's the thing: that's really impressive. This is a real person. You kind of saw at the end of the movie. Like, he dedicated, I believe, to his grandfather or something, whoever fought in the war. And that the idea this is a really personal project for Mendez. You know, the war stories that were passed down to him from members of his family, and that you kind of respect that. It's there's just something again. I love Mendez. He kind of went full tilt and kind of in showing things. You being in the thick of it. I like that the money shot wasn't just a money shot. The money shot had dramatic significance with the big plane moment.
right, yeah.
Also, we have all the English greats in this movie, man. Like practically all the English greats. Mark Strong, Colin Firth, Cumberbatch, Adrian. I was so surprised. Oh my God, Adrian Scarsborough. It's awesome. Look at that. He gives him the pat on the back. How nice is that? So, I mean, I'll admit though, here's my problem with that. There's a bit of a dip in the pacing when we go like we bunker down with like the French lady and her baby. Like that's like that.
Oh God, yes. Everyone who's ever seen this movie does not like the French lady dragon.
That's what I'm saying.
She
No, I mean,
slows the movie down to a crawl.
because I mean, it's literally right after the big dramatic moment, hence the aftermath of the
Uh,
plane. It's big, that's where again where the movie's really the momentum just keeps going, and oh my God! And then again, he needs time to decompress, but it's. I mean, I get more time in him decompressing when he's finally reached the destination. He's just like just sitting by the trees, all the soldiers
I
together.
like that decompression. Yeah, I agree
That's what I'm
there.
saying. Like that's great. And again, that's what I'm saying. I love
Yeah,
that
yeah,
Mendes like these punching in on those moments. Those moments are fantastic.
sure.
And like the desperation to get the car out of the mud. So 1917's got a lot of good stuff going on for it. But again, just a little we're kind of spinning our wheels with the French lady. I'm sorry to say. All right.
All right. It's all the French lady's fault.
So now you saw a movie that I have seen.
I saw a movie that I
French
have
lady
seen.
and the
Yeah,
baby.
yes. All right. A futile and stupid
There's a movie. No,
gesture.
here's a movie that I have seen.
Yeah, I gotcha. I gotcha. All right, so Dragon, essentially, you're absolutely right that this does kind of feel like the, like the Channel Awesome / Just Giglet biopics of late that we've been pitching. Huge cast, maybe a little too big, honestly, because it was hard to keep track of who was who. But I enjoyed it, Dragon. I wasn't in love with it, but I do think that, honestly, Dragon, I think the thing that we have kind of nailed down that this movie doesn't have nailed down is, in spite of us having a really big cast, we focus on like a particular arc. And this one, it has an arc, but I feel like it's a little all over the place.
Yeah, with a futile and stupid gesture, I always loved the whole Martin Mull role. I always loved that frame, and Martin Mull to Will Forte is like the Doug Kenny thing. I always loved that reveal and everything.
Uh huh. I mean, I like the framing device for sure, and Will Forte is definitely a highlight, and it's nice to see what, kind of like the Rob Walker thing we
I know,
cast him
and
as
again,
Rob
because of this
Walker.
movie, that's how we got him as Rob
Yeah,
Walker.
yeah. So that's cool to see. Um, Dragon, I don't know. Like outside of the framing device, though, I don't think there was a lot going on directing wise that was very interesting.
Well, again, I mean, also, all I can say is that again, with the Martin Mull device, and again, I guess you could maybe attribute it to the writing a little more. So I don't know. I think the montage
Uh
work was pretty good as well. So maybe that's. I'm just saying. I think we had a good command over like the abbreviation of story. I felt. I don't know.
All right. So overall, Dragon, I liked it. I wasn't in love with it though, but it was a solid enough watch.
All right.
I mostly just watched it to prepare myself for the for the Just Giggle It biopic pitch.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Well, I'm going to raise you a biopic with another. I'm
Oh,
gonna
all right.
hand you Driven. Okay, so Driven. So basically the rest of the selection Driven onward for me. This was all made possible by during Thanksgiving week, the weekend of Thanksgiving. They did like free TV week for every network but Showtime. Was free, was made free for until the 30th.
Oh,
So literally
interesting.
that kind of informed like all my catch-ups. All my catch-up was made possible by the free TV week. So here's the thing. I'd heard about Driven. Where here's the thing. So I heard about this after I watched Framing John DeLorean, which is a documentary released last year, which I was really impressed by. Really liked the whole John DeLorean documentary. Really good. It's on Hulu if anyone wants to
Yeah.
watch it. So basically, yeah, this is a biopic on the John DeLorean affair. It's not so much John DeLorean, but it's about the sting operation to get John DeLorean. The whole cocaine bust from the perspective of the desperate informant who made it happen. Essentially, the guy who set up the cocaine deal was an informant for, I believe the FBI. Was an informant for the FBI, and the idea was that this guy wanted to keep his cushy lifestyle going, so he just kind of by happenstance struck up a friendship with John DeLorean, and DeLorean was kind of desperate for money, so it's unclear who gave him the big light bulb for the cocaine sale to save the business, but the idea is this guy saw an opportunity and he kind of betrayed his friendship with John DeLorean to kind of keep his world spinning.
All right.
Anyway,
A lot of moving parts there, but sure.
well, yeah. Anyway, I like how kind of tight knit this is, where it's it's really just four people. It's Jason Sudeikis as the informant, Lee Page, Ronan the Accuser from Guardians as as John DeLorean. He's honestly he's quite flawless in the role. He's quite like he looks like the guy. He's pretty good. He's really good. You got Junior as the wife, and we have Corey Stoll. You know, again, a lot of Marvel love here with with both Yellow Jacket and Ronan the Accuser in this film, and wife from Ant Man. So it's a solid movie. I think Sudeikis is great. We're framing the whole thing around the testimony of the Sudeikis character, who's a little bit of an unreliable narrator. Um, it's all about like a betrayal for status quo story, as I said. It's no Framing John DeLorean. Let me say that now. Framing John DeLorean is easily better, and that's the go-to. I recommend everyone if you want to know what happened with John DeLorean. Not this. This is fine, but it's um, again, it's like that movie had like the recreations done with like the people that John DeLorean in life wanted to play him in a biopic. He wanted he wanted Alec Baldwin to play him in the movie back then, so he actually plays him as the older John DeLorean, which is really cool. That was that one, not this one. So, uh, DeLorean's son always said he never wanted a movie to end on like the triumphant like trial at the end, like he got off, hooray! Because again, that'd be disingenuous all the stuff that John DeLorean did. But this movie, it's more fitting than that. It doesn't end like that, thankfully, but there's a fitting end, so it's okay. You know?
All right. Okay. Oh, okay. Next, Dragon. I watched To Hell and Back: The Kane Hodder Story, which you recommended to me.
Yes, I did.
Did you had you already talked about this?
I have, yes. So it's all you.
Okay, yeah. This was fantastic and probably the highlight of my whole month, honestly. Just really compelling stuff. Of course, Kane Hodder. He is not the original Jason. I believe he premiered in Friday the 13th. What 7?
I believe it's 7. Yes.
Yeah, and one of the more iconic Jasons, kind of definitely premiered some of the more iconic movements, like the chest breathing, stuff like that. But yeah, his story is just super compelling, Dragon. That burn stuff is just, oh my god, like right in the middle of the documentary. Dragon, if I have one complaint about the documentary, it's that the stuff with him getting burned and then the stuff in the hospital and everything. Like honestly, that stuff was so compelling that the rest of the movie was almost kind of like trying to catch up with that. Where I was so entranced in that stuff, it was just like, oh my god, I was gobsmacked by it, Dragon. I
Well,
really was. It was horrifying.
I think if you really were hooked on that segment, I'm going to tell you again. This whole thing is kind of essentially it's an adaptation of his book, and this thing it covers it, but there's a little bit more horror stories like that in the book, Kane Hodder Unmasked, because they have his biographer in the thing with him.
I don't want to like it's horrifying in a way where I don't want to necessarily go out and seeking it, but all I'm saying is that I didn't know if there's anything they could have been done about it because they're literally just telling this dude's story. But you know, basically after that, the documentary gets a lot more pleasant, for lack of a better word, and it's fine. I just feel like the second act of this documentary is really where the meat and potatoes of it is. Would you agree?
I would, yes.
And but man, that meat and potatoes, it's not just meat and potatoes, Dragon. It's like filet mignon and like gourmet like mashed potatoes with like bacon bits. If that makes sense. I don't know.
Sure. And
So
again,
yeah, go ahead.
and here's the thing. Again, this is kind of like a David Press sort of thing. Again, this is like one of the iconic kind of men behind the
Absolutely.
mask, men behind the suits with a story to tell for sure.
And just
So again,
seeing his work ethic, and his attention to detail and the performance, really inspiring stuff.
absolutely.
All right. Okay, what up? What's next?
All right, next is The American President.
I need to watch this for sure.
And you do. So of course, again, another like post-election sort of thing. Here's the thing. I've been meaning to get to The American President.
Dragon,
Seriously,
the fact that it's a romantic comedy kind of scares me a little bit, I will admit.
Oh.
I'm
So of course,
just not sure how Sorkin can do a romantic comedy. Sorkin doesn't have a good history with female characters. I'll say that much. I mean, as much as I love The Social Network, Dragon, Brenda Strong is not a good representation of a female character.
right. Well, anyway. So let me tell you. So of course, I've always mentioned. I think that one of the best movies about fiction, one of the best fictional presidents in the whole story, like fictional president movie, is Dave with Kevin Kline. I love Dave. It's one of my favorites. One of the best Kevin Kline movies too. It's great. So they always pair these two together. So I always wondered what is the American president anyway. Every time I want to buy Dave on DVD, they always try to sell you the like, hey, here's the double feature, Dave and the American president, the two president movies. So, yeah, this was made by Rob Reiner and Aaron Sorkin. It's very much in the vein of Dave.
Rob Reiner directed A Few Good Men too, right?
I think so.
I think so. I'm pretty sure he did.
Sounds like he did. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But that's the thing. So yeah, it's very much in the vein of David, and it's kind of the lighthearted kind of presidential film with a bit of a comedy. In this case, a little bit of a romantic comedy. But again, there's a little more to it. Let me put it this way: this is a romantic comedy. We have Michael Douglas as the widower president, who's falling in love with the Annette Bening character. And again, I gotta tell you, Annette Bening, very charming in this movie. A lot of fun. She's this. Why couldn't we get this in Captain Marvel with Annette Bening?
Oh God, right.
No, we had to make her all stoic and scientist. Anyway, yeah, she's seriously. This is where you get like this is why they get Annette Bening for that sort of thing. Because man, God, she was great. Basically, I always love it, like a la Dave. I love when we humanize the president, and that's what we do here. And Douglas is he's my kind of movie president in the vein of Dave, where he's dealing with the mundane. He's duty bound, but he's a nice guy. He's a responsible guy. He's a good president, as you kind of get the sense of here. And also per the Sorkin of it all. This is Sorkin's beginnings for sure. This is where with Sorkin's beginnings with the brass tacks kind of West Wing dialogue. We have really great political dialogue. That's where Sorkin's really shining. In this, Martin Sheen, he plays the chief of staff. Michael J. Fox, he plays he's like a little political advisor in this. And the idea is people loved him so much as kind of the yuppie political advisor. They wrote Spin City for him because of this movie.
Makes sense. Yeah.
What's funny, I caused maybe made my jaw drop. They reference green eggs and ham in this, and given what happened to Michael Douglas,
oh God,
this movie spawns so many things. It's amazing.
Dragon, I bought a Green Eggs and Hamilton T-shirt.
Really?
It's got like a little Dr. Seuss version of Hamilton.
God. Doing like the fist thing on the.
No. He's kind of like just leaning down, with the green eggs. It's like a beat by beat reproduction of the green eggs and ham cover.
Oh, okay, I got you now. I was thinking the other way.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, yeah.
But though, yeah, I love this running gag with the flower sticky when you watch it. I love the flower running gag. It's just really funny, really mundane. I love it. So again, basically for me, American President, it's good, but it's no Dave. Nowhere near as great as Dave,
I
man.
assume it's
Seriously.
A Few Good Men as well.
Probably not. But I don't know. It's pleasant though. That's the thing. This movie is pleasant, but not as pleasant and wonderful as Dave.
God.
Seriously, Tiki, I keep trying to get you to watch Dave.
Dave.
1993 Dave.
All right. Okay, so Exorcism of Emily Rose. Dragon, this is a movie that I was literally afraid of when it first came out because the trailers were so intense. And it's directed by Scott Derrickson, and I finally got around to watching it, and it's riveting, Dragon. I would compare, the closest thing I would compare this to is The Last Exorcism. And yes, I know that's another exorcism movie. There's a lot of exorcism movies, I know, but they're both unique for different reasons. The Last Exorcism, of course, is the found footage exorcism movie starring Patrick Fabian.
I know.
And this one, Dragon, what I like about this one is that it's essentially a court movie. It's a courtroom movie. And it's kind of like the trial of the Chicago Seven, except instead of the Chicago Seven, it's a priest on trial.
Why couldn't we get Patrick Fabian in this one?
But Dragon, we do have Tom Wilkinson, who's pretty great in his own
Great.
right. So essentially, Dragon, what this is it's a courtroom case, and we're flashing back and forth to the actual Emily Rose, played by Jennifer Carpenter, pre-Dexter Jennifer Carpenter.
Hey,
Yeah. So, Dragon, I gotta say, this movie is it's not for you. It's definitely terrifying with the exorcism stuff. The exorcism stuff is definitely very, very strong in the horror department. I mean,
can watch on Supernatural. Keep going.
what?
At least exorcisms I can watch are on Supernatural.
Right. Like the sound design of the exorcism stuff especially is just really, really creepy and on point. But overall, Dragon, the strongest part of this movie is the character development with Tom Wilkinson. And it is very morally ambiguous, and it much like the last exorcism kind of calls to mind, like, are exorcisms legitimate or aren't they? And that's kind of the hook of the movie, is that you don't really know, because the hook of the movie is that by the start of the movie, Emily's already dead and the exorcism is failed. That's the hook of the movie. And so basically throughout the movie, you're trying to figure out, like, was this a murder? Was this foul play? Was it negligence? And so, yeah, ultimately it comes to a really kind of morally ambiguous conclusion. I really liked it a lot.
All right.
Okie dokie.
Hey, I got a double header here. I got two left. So here's one that you kind of inspired me to watch.
Okay.
Via the movie Trailers a Love Story.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so this is In a World. ... Okay, so this, if you recall, in the movie Trailers a Love Story, there was a moment at the end of one of the chapters where they show this little headline about the Lake Bell movie In a World when they're I forget which chapter it was. I presume it could have been early on because the whole thing revolves around Don LaFontaine, so you presume it would be like chapter 2 or something. But anyway, so yeah, basically the film Lake Bell, who of course plays Poison Ivy on as Poison Ivy on the Harley Quinn animated show, and she's also been in Boston Legal, and she's been in a bunch of stuff. Lake Bell's awesome. So Lake Bell, this is her. I don't know if it was her debut or not, but she wrote, directed, and starred in this very impressively. This film's about the voiceover industry, with Lake Bell, and she's it's really good. It's really fun. It's not specifically voice acting. It's a different thing. It's kind of a beast of a different color. This is more, again, pure like the Don LaFontaine. Where again, I'm sure the voice acting people would love this. They get a kick out of this thing. where basically the VO community, the voiceover community, in the wake of Don LaFontaine's passing, they are vying for that legacy and the opportunity when basically someone doing one of the studios are doing a trailer, and they've made the big decision in the VO community to bring back In a World with a new voice. That's huge. So basically, other VO actors, aspiring VO actors, are like kind of like industry VO actors. They're auditioning for the role, and they want the role badly because this is like a big thing to bring back In a World, given the last guy who did it, who was the best in the business. So this movie I love how niche the stakes are because it's really small when you think about it. Just the VO community really want this role. It's very niche, very small stakes, but it's huge to our characters and our cast of characters. Which I think like this is like the Oscar. This is like they could get an Oscar for this as far as they're concerned, which is really great. It's a little silly in the macro level, but in the micro level, it's epic. It's a lot of fun. We have great people in this again outside of Lake Bell. Ken Marino, one of our guys, Ken Marino from Agent Carter. I love this guy. Like the man Freddy. It's Marino. Uh, Fred Fred uh, Malamed. This guy, he plays Sam Soda. He plays the Lake Bell's father in the movie. The idea is this guy is like he like kind of is like the king of the VO community since LaFontaine passed. He hasn't gotten like the inner world, but he's the big name. And he's like basically he's this really lovely character. He's all bluster in a fatherly role. She's living down the legacy that this guy is kind of cast her in the shadow. Like, oh, you're that guy's kid. Or no, I'm my own person. So let's not we get out of that shadow. So long story short, this is the perfect companion piece to Movie Trailers: A Love Story. I think you'd really like this. Lake Bell plays a really likable character. It's a lot of fun. It lives up to the hype. It's really good.
All right.
All right, and lastly, coming straight out of the 90s, it's The Hard Way.
No idea what this is.
Yeah, so after The American President, I was on a Michael J. Fox kick. This is a buddy cop movie starring Michael J. Fox and James Woods. Yeah, and this is like one of the, I don't know if it was like the genesis of this or not. I like to say it was, but Smart Money says no. This is like one of the early, premises of an actor is studying a cop for a movie. Where Michael J. Fox plays the actor who's studying James Woods, the hardened cop, to basically play him in a movie. Doing like kind of a scene study or like a ride along sort of thing. You got some great action. James Woods going after a really crazy Stephen Lang. Stephen Lang is in this, and what's really funny. A while back on Memoirs, I don't know how far back this year or not, but there's a movie on Netflix called Gridlocked, where basically it takes the exact same premise, and Stephen Lang is in it as the bad guy. So it's kind of a love letter to this, I'd imagine, which is really fun. I'll admit, not quite PC in places. I don't know if it holds up. The Hollywood stuff with Michael J. Fox is really fun. Him playing this kind of the overprivileged, like kind of Indiana Jones type who is just completely not that in real life. We have like a climax on an elaborate billboard. It's funny. It's a little over the top, but kind of a funny origin perhaps of the actor cop pairings. Always fun to see James Woods kind of go nuts on criminals because he's yelling a lot in this movie. It's really funny. It's kind of maybe like if you want kind of a taste of the '90s with the buddy cop movies, I'd recommend it. But it's just it's fun for the James Woods factor, I guess.
Okay. All right, so there we go. There you have it. Best and worst Dragon. I will start off. My best. You know what? There's definitely a few that I could go with. To Hell and Back was definitely had me. But I'm gonna say the thing that I'm easily gonna rewatch the most out of everything I saw this month was Movie Trailers: A Love Story. So I got to give it to that just for the campy of it all. And worst, I probably gotta say Hillbilly Elegy. I mean, that was the only one that I watched that I was like actively bored by.
Okay. Also, you might want to get rid of the thing.
Gotcha.
All right, best and worst for me. A little tough to say because the best, I had a couple contenders for best because a part of me, Pardon me, I really, here's the thing, I really enjoyed the Orange Years because it was kind of a wish fulfillment thing, but still, other than that, the Mystery of D.B. Cooper was really good. Again, we're just combining I had good contenders because Inner World is all. If we're just combining everything, Inner World is probably. I think Inner World is probably the best thing. It's between Inner World and 1917, but that French lady really kind of cramps 1917 style. But it's not that bad though. It's yeah, a lot of good contenders. I'm gonna say. I'm gonna bite the bullet. Just they kind of ride your coattails on movie trailers, a love story. I'm gonna say Inner World for
All
the
right.
best.
Fair
Worst.
enough.
See, worst is probably going to be. Again, I had it pretty easy this month. I'm going to say worst is probably going to be. I mean, de facto, it's got to be either super intelligence or the hard way. I'm going to say. I'm going to say the. I guess I'll say the hard way. Maybe. Yeah, I guess the hard way. And super intelligence had all the James Corden of it all was pretty fun. Say the
All
hard
right.
way, just de facto, the hard way is the worst. But yeah.
Okay, looking ahead, Dragon, there's definitely some fun stuff on the horizon. Of course, the big ones: Mank, Wonder Woman, 1984, and Soul. Which Dragon, I'm so excited for Soul. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's living
Um,
up.
and then I'm also going to watch The Prom on Netflix just because I'm a Broadway whore, And of course, James Corden is in it, so because James Corden is contractually obligated to be in every Broadway movie.
I heard he's getting some backlash for that one.
I'm not surprised, honestly. But like I said, Dragon, I'm a Broadway musical whore, so
Yep,
I am
yep,
definitely gonna be checking that one out.
you're cheap as they come.
Oh yes, oh you know it. All right, well, folks, we've waxed on long enough. It's time to put the pen down. Until next time, when we return for another fitting chapter in our
Movie
Movie
Memoirs!
Memoirs. Yule Cat.
Nickelodeon.